It's me, the tree guy!
Continuing with the Unleashed testing, today I'm taking a look at Vi, Piltover Enforcer. Vi is a Fury and Order legend with the ability, when you conquer, if you assigned 3 or more excess damage, you may exhaust me to ready a unit. To be honest, after a bit of testing, I found that this ability is very limited, and there's a lot of ways for your opponent to play around it. The excess damage requirement means that you need your opponent to have a unit at that battlefield, and your reward for the times that they do leave something small enough for you to overkill is just readying a unit. Compared to the other legend that readies units, Aurelia, Vi just feels very underwhelming because of how reliant her ability is on how your opponent is playing. But if you don't care about how meta viable Vi is going to be, and you're just a big Vi fan, then let's go over how to build Vi Piltover Enforcer. Vi's signature equipment is Hextech Gauntlets. It's a 3 energy equipment with an equip cost of 3 energy and 1 power, but the energy part of the equip cost is reduced by the might of the unit being equipped. So, if the unit has 3 might, the equip cost is just 1 power. Hextech Gauntlets gives 3 might and has the ability, when I conquer, if I assign 3 or more excess damage, draw a card. It's good that this has the same requirements as the Vi legend, leading to a more focused game plan, but it also has the same limitations, which means cards that can retreat after conquering, like Lucian Merciless, or legends that let you bring back your units, like Yasuo, Kha'Zix, and Pyke, are pretty tough matchups. For chosen champions, Vi has 3 options. First, there's Vi Destructive from Origins, which is a 3 might unit for 2 energy, and a Fury with ganking and the ability to recycle a card from trash to give her +1 might this turn. This Vi can be good as an early play because she can gank from battlefield to battlefield to rack up early points, and she's just bigger than most 2-cost units. She's also not bad in the late game for when you need a big push, but not quite as good as her next champion, Vi Hot-Headed. Vi Hot-Headed is a 3 might unit for 4 energy that has Deflect and the ability to pay 2 energy and 1 fury to double her might this turn. Since this ability is not limited to once per turn, Vi can easily get very big, especially in the late game, but her base stats are a little low to compensate for the ability. Still, her might boost is much easier to use and more repeatable than Vi Destructive's, meaning you might want Vi Hot-Headed as your chosen champion if you're looking for a finisher. The final Vi champion is Vi Peacekeeper. Vi Peacekeeper is a 5 might unit for 5 energy and an order, with ambush and the ability, when I attack, stun a unit here. This is pretty similar to Leona Determined, and from testing, Vi Peacekeeper doesn't really fit well in a Vi deck. You usually don't care that much about stunning the enemy unit because the unit that's attacking ideally should be overkilling the units at the battlefield. I view this Vi as more of a Leona card than a Vi card. Next, let's talk about the kinds of cards that a Vi deck might want to play. Taking a look at the Vi champion deck, it looks like it's very focused on assault units. This makes sense on paper since both the legend and signature equipment care about dealing excess damage when conquering, meaning you want your units to be very big specifically when attacking. The issue I found while playing Vi is that you need to force your opponent to try and stay on a battlefield, and the only way to consistently do that is to threaten to win the game by getting to 6 points and having 2 units at your base. In testing, it was really hard to score both battlefields each turn while still adding units to your base for the next turn. The solution I found for this isn't assault, but ganking. With ganking, you only need to invest in 1 unit and make it move back and forth so that you can score 2 points per turn, one for holding and the other for conquering. If your opponent ignores the unit, then you just get 2 points per turn. If they decide to kill that unit and are forced to leave units at that battlefield, you can send in another ganking unit from your base, hopefully overkill, and ready the unit with your legend to let it gank over to the other side. Once again, getting you 2 points a turn. This is the only way I found to get a steady stream of points without investing in too many units at once. Once you get to 6 points, your opponent is forced to try and defend, at which point you can hopefully break through with a giant Vi Hot-Headed. With this in mind, cheap units that already have ganking, like Vi Destructive, Pike Dockside Butcher, Jin Murderous Artist, Rengar Unseen, and Fiora Victorious are all good units for Vi. They come down early and demand an answer from your opponent. While Vi Hot-Headed doesn't have ganking herself, she's so good as a finisher that you probably want to run her anyways. If you can give her ganking, you can often get double value from her might boosting ability by attacking both battlefields in one turn. So Vault Breaker and Gem Jammer are both cards you should think about running. One final unit to consider is Tryndamere Barbarian. He also doesn't have ganking, but you don't really need ganking if you can get the extra point from his ability. You're already trying to deal excess damage, so if there was ever a deck to try Tryndamere Barbarian, I think it's this one. Finally, we already know that readying units with ganking is very strong because of Vi's legend ability, but there are often times when your opponent won't put units at a battlefield, meaning you can't ready your units with Vi. In those situations, Upstage Comedy allows you to still gank over, and it can also act as a pseudo accelerate. Since you also need to make your units bigger, equipment and combat tricks are important to include, but they each have their own drawbacks. Equipment heavy builds, using BF swords and blighted battle axes, let you add might to your board without spending extra cards, but it's very taxing on your runes to keep re-equipping them each time your unit dies. Meanwhile, combat tricks like Blood Rush and Cleave are very cost efficient, but you might find yourself running out of cards much faster than you'd like. I think the equipment build is a bit better overall because your unit is still big while defending, but it's also the more expensive build because Seals of Rage really help with all of the power costs. For battlefields, Arena's Greatest is one of the best battlefields for Vi because you really just want to put pressure on your opponent to hold. Sunken Temple is also pretty good, since you can easily get to 5 might, and Vi already wants to constantly be conquering battlefields. With that in mind, other battlefields like Candlelit Sanctum, Targon's Peak, and Zon Warrens are also potentially good battlefields, but they're much easier for other decks to take advantage of compared to Sunken Temple, so it depends more on how your deck is built. If you're playing with 6 or more equipment, Ornn's Forge can also be a potentially good battlefield, even if the overall impact might feel a bit low. Trapping Grounds sounds like it could be good, since you already want to deal excess damage when conquering, and your opponent probably won't be able to take advantage of it as well as you can, but getting a 1 might bird token is just alright. This battlefield is much better in Vi builds that don't have a lot of ganking units because it forces your opponent to deal with the bird or give you free points. Finally, Forbidding Waste is a battlefield that gives a unit -2 might if it's defending alone, which can help you deal the excess damage needed while also incentivizing your opponent to put more than one unit at a battlefield at a time. If you're looking to play Vi Piltover Enforcer when Unleashed comes out, there's a few cards that I'd suggest you pick up now. For units, Gem Jammers and Vi Destructive are pretty safe, and if you want to try something spicy, maybe pick up one Tryndamere Barbarian. Unsung Hero is also potentially good if you feel that you need more 2-drops because it helps you draw cards. For gear, BF Sword is a good pickup, and if you can afford to, maybe get some Seals of Rage because equipment and ganking units are very power hungry. For spells, the only removal spell I think is completely necessary is Hidden Blade because of how versatile it is. The rest of your removal, such as Falling Star or Piercing Light, depends on what matchups you're expecting. Finally, for battlefields, I would for sure pick up the Arena's Greatest and Sunken Temple because they're really easy for Vi to take advantage of. For the third battlefield, it really depends on how your deck is built and what decks you're expecting to face, so that you can benefit more than your opponent. That's my overview of Vi Piltover Enforcer. Let me know in the comments how you think Vi should be built, or which other legends from Unleashed I should take a look at. If you enjoyed the video, or it helped you out in some way, consider leaving a like or subscribing for more Riftbound content. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.